So a guy stripped down and tried to open the plane door on my flight home, but we can talk about that a little later.
Welcome to Off the Cut, episode 125 for Tuesday, July 23rd, 2024. And tonight is a big night. We are doing something we've never done before. Actually, we've kind of done it before, but more on that later. First, we're contractually obligated to tell you that the newest presidential candidate for the United States of America is Jonathan Katz Moses and KM Tools, baby.
Woo! He's going to ride that bourbon blade to victory.
Did you imagine that? In whatever party is representing, he just gets up there and he's like, I stand for tools, for woodworkers, by woodworkers.
I mean, he's got my vote. I'd vote for him.
You know why he's got my vote?
Why is that, Eric?
Because I know that all of the tools that are in his store are in his shop. Meaning that he doesn't try to peddle a bunch of crap. Instead, everything that he's got in there is either designed by him and his team or been thoroughly tested, so you know it's high quality.
That's right. And a portion of every single sale goes to the Katz Moses Woodworkers with Disabilities Fund, which puts tools in the hands of people who need them. And who else does it put tools in the hands of?
Our lovely listeners. Because every single month, Jonathan and his team is giving away a $50 gift card to KM Tools. All that you have to do to get entered to win that is sign up over on patreon.com/offthegutpodcast, and you are automatically entered to win. Woo!
Heck yeah.
Hell yeah.
Which I guess, we should talk about first. Well, let's get admin stuff out of the way. First things, exciting. New patron this week.
Oh, new patrons. Oh, yeah. I didn't even see that. I didn't get that notification.
See,
that is very exciting.
That Patreon was potentially broken because we haven't got new patrons in a few weeks. So I'm glad to hear that Patreon is in fact working. Newest patron, we've got Lee Dumont at Busted Knuckle Woodworks, which, if you recall, we met him briefly at Workbench Con.
I was going to say, yeah. I think I'm in a Facebook group with him as well.
Right on. He's also one of the hosts of the New Cranky Workshop podcast.
Yeah,
so
New Cranky.
We fully endorse any podcast that is not the Green Suiters podcast. But if you do want to listen to the Green Suiters or New Cranky Workshop podcast, they're available on all streaming platforms.
Heck yeah.
We've also got our returning top tier patrons. And some of the folks that are hanging out in the live stream with us tonight every week. We've got Joe Welsh at Delaware Valley Workshop, Goblin Spanker, Dan Armendrez, Corey Duvall, Dadu, and Josh at Sawdust Builds.
Heck yeah.
Why don't you tell me what we're doing tonight, though, Zach?
Well, tonight we are doing what's this going to be, the third, fourth?
Fourth or fifth?
It's quite a lot of them, I think.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's say it's gonna be our fifth then. It sounds
fifth
more
annual monthly.
Yeah. Wait, hold on. There's biannual, which is every other year, or is it twice a year?
Is it biannual or semi? Well, I know Victoria's Secret has the semi-annual sale. That's twice a year.
Okay, so semi-annual is every 6 months.
Yeah,
that's right.
Then triannual would be every 4 months. Quad annual would be every 3 months.
Quintannual?
Quintannual? Is it quin? Is that 12?
Yeah, there was the Disney movie Quints, where they had 5 identical babies.
No.
Why don't we just do 6 semi-annual ones?
Yeah, 6 semi-annual. Yeah, okay. Okay, well, now that everybody's tuned out because I got bored of me trying to figure out what the word for 12 is, we are going to be doing our BYOC event tonight, but with a twist. Normally it's just for our top tier patrons, but this month we're opening it up to all of our patrons. I'm expecting it's going to be a little crazy. We'll see, but it's going to be fun too. It's going to be wild.
I'm excited to see what kind of questions people have, what kind of... We always get on some interesting topics, and it's just kind of it's fun to have that like free form conversation where somebody brings something up and then it kind of segues into something else, and we always get on some good topics, good conversation. So we're gonna be heading over there tonight. That'll be right around. It'll probably be around 8:15, 8:20 p.m. Eastern. So there's a link already over on Patreon. It's a Skype link. So join over there. And if you join and nothing happens, it's because we're not there yet. We're wrapping up the show, but we will be there. So just be patient. Be patient.
Correct.
Well, I think first things that we should talk about tonight. Well, let me say this real quick. Patrons, we know that a lot of folks have sent in some questions recently. Keep them coming, please do. We're not going to be able to get them to. We're not going to be able to get to them tonight because we're having that BYOC call, which means that we won't have an after show this week. But next week we are going to be having a special guest joining us, so we might get to some questions next week when we have our guests, but if not, I promise they're on the list. They're not being forgotten. We will definitely answer them in the next after show that we have time.
Yes, and patrons, if you're up on the after shows, if you're all caught up, you already know who our guest is going to be. So feel free to send in questions for our guest next week.
I should write a. Okay, I'm going to write myself a note to post something on Patreon asking for questions.
Ooh, yeah, good call.
Yes.
Good call.
All right.
Hey, too many questions is not a bad problem to have.
No.
Yeah, I mean, worst case scenario, we don't get to them all, and we save a couple for next week. So that's not a big deal. So last week we were missing Deric. How was your vacation? How's your trip? I mean,
well, it was fun. We toured the Pacific Northwest. We flew into Oregon there and kind of swung around between Portland and drove up to Seattle.
Nice.
Made some stops along the way. Spent some time in each city. We took a late flight home on Thursday, however, and it started a little strange.
A little turbulence.
We're sitting in the terminal, and there's this guy just singing like loudly in the terminal. Some like NSYNC, bye bye bye, and something else.
Perfectly normal, perfectly healthy. I do that before every flight.
Having a good time, right? It's weird, but I didn't think much of it. And then as we're getting on the plane, the same guy, he's being seated and he's expressing thanks to the helpful crew, and he's asking them for several things, like he wants some water and some snacks and some Wi-Fi and so on and so forth as I walk by. Kind of relentless, but the crew was pretty good, and they told him they'll take care of him as soon as we get in the air. So we all get seated, we're all settled in, and we're taking off. And then as we're taking off, he stands up and walks back to the bathroom. Now, the crew go back after him, and they tell him, sir, you got to sit in your seat and wait for the seatbelt sign to come off. So they get him back to his seat and get him settled back in, and things are fine for about the first hour. They just finished up handing out snacks and drinks, and the call button kind of kept starting to ding. Repeatedly, like every 5 or 10 seconds, there was just this ding, and then all of a sudden it was just constant, just ding, 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 ding. And this guy is just up there, and he's just hitting that button over and over again. So the crew kind of gathers around him, like 3 of them, and they're trying to calm him down. Then it was announced that we're going to make a stop in Salt Lake City. The plane kind of moves a little bit, and we start descending just slightly. The seatbelt lights come on. The crew starts gathering drinks and everything and preparing for landing. Once they cleared the aisles with their trays and everything like that, the guy stood up again and went back to the bathroom. Again, this is just so strange. A couple of the crew members kind of gather around the bathroom, and they're pounding on the door. Hey, sir, you got to go sit down and wait for us to land. We need you seated, and so on and so forth. A few minutes later, he comes out with nothing but his boxers on and just throws a couple things down the aisle. I think it was his phone or his wallet or something. And he's just marching up and down the aisles, and he starts marching back towards the back of the plane, and he's yelling about how he was done with the flight and he just wanted to go home and all this other stuff, and something about Trump.
I have felt that way on long flights before too. Screw this, I am done with this flight.
I'm done with my clothes.
Yeah.
But as soon as he gets to the back, he's back there for just a couple seconds, and one of the crew members pops out from around the corner and calls out, "I need help." He's trying to open the door, and And a
Like
bunch of
the
people from the
doors of
aisles
the
just
plane?
stood up and ran to the back, like some guys, and then a couple crew members followed in behind them, like the door to the plane. Yeah.
If I was
they're back
on
there
a
and there's
plane,
this whole like commotion going on.
if I was on a plane
Yeah.
and somebody gave out the call that somebody is trying to open the door, I think the last thing I would do is get out of my seat and run towards them.
You keep
I'd be like buckling up my seatbelt, cinching it down. It's like we're about to have an explosive decompression right now.
But the thing is, on an airplane, like, I mean, you guys have traveled enough to know
Yeah.
that even if there is some
Luckily, they got to
situation-
him.
I think we have a weird delay.
Yeah, I think we're a couple seconds off right now.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, do we?
What I was going to
Sorry.
say is, I think that we've all traveled enough to know that even if there is some sort of situation occurring on an airplane, that like the flight attendants don't want anyone to be any the wiser of anything that's going on. So if they're yelling out, "We need help," there is something drastically bad going on.
True. Yeah, whenever there's,
Yeah.
when you're on a plane and there's like a bunch of turbulence, the first thing I do is always look at the flight attendants and see like, are they panicked or are they like pretty chill right now?
Right.
Anytime anything goes wrong on a plane, first thing I do is look at them. So if they're panicking, trying to get this guy to stop opening the door, that's why I start freaking
They were a
out.
little confused. I don't think they knew how to handle him. It was just really weird.
Yeah.
They get
I
him,
wouldn't-
but so I can hear him like they tackle him to the ground or something, and there's like some commotion, but I can't see it because it's kind of behind the partition, or not the partition, but around the bend. And he's back there just kind of yelling some obscenities and talking about how unfair American Airlines is, and
True.
all this other stuff. At one point, he yells out like, "Oh yeah, I like that, Daddy," and then "Ow, my arm!" Like, I mean, it's just kind of like all over the place. And then he starts talking. He starts yelling about how he's got like autism, and so they kind of get him like situated, and everybody kind of goes and sits back down, and then that same crew member yells out again, "Oh my God, he's coming out of the restraints. He's getting up again." So these guys go back to the back again, and at that point, I think one of the guys was a off-duty cop or a former police officer and had some handcuffs on him, and they actually like handcuffed him, and then they set him down in the seat.
Wait. Hold on.
This
You can take handcuffs on a plane?
I guess.
Or was
If
this
you-
guy an
maybe
air
if you're
marshal,
a-
maybe?
Maybe I don't know if he was an air marshal, because it didn't seem like there was an air marshal. Because
Yeah.
I would assume if there was an air marshal, they would have escorted him off the plane at the end. But
True.
so
Yeah,
they
good point.
cleared out the back row, had them go move up to some other seats, and they set him down between two of the guys, and they just kind of like sat on him the whole rest of the flight. And it took us like a half an hour to land from that point.
So
'cause,
you,
we were
did
still
do the emergency
a ways
landing.
out. Oh yeah, we were supposed to land in Dallas. We were leaving Seattle. We were supposed to land in Dallas, and we ended up diverted to Salt Lake City. And at that point, the crew was out of time, or the pilots were out of time, and they couldn't fly anymore. So we had to like stay the night and deplane and everything, and then come back the next morning. It was just an absolute mess, and it took them about 20 minutes after we landed for the police to actually come on the plane and arrest the guy. And as we're getting off the plane, we're walking by, and his seat is just destroyed. Like he had ripped off the cushion and like ripped it into pieces and tore off the pocket on the back of the seat in front of him. It was a mess.
I love how.
Listening to the Green Suiters podcast.
Yeah,
He must have been.
yeah. I love how even in an emergency situation, it still takes 30 minutes to get somebody off the plane.
Yes. And like I'm sure they called ahead and let them know that we're coming. So that means the police
for
took
sure.
almost an hour to get to the airport.
Yeah, they should have just been at the gate.
I
ready to
assumed they
go.
would. Yeah, exactly. I thought they'd be at the gate waiting, or TSA would take. I mean, what's TSA for then if they're not there to handle situations like that? They're Transportation Security
and-
Alliance.
The TSA didn't even get the guy's handcuffs getting on the plane, so.
Yeah.
No, I looked it up. You're allowed to have handcuffs. It says just like duct
Ah.
tape, you're allowed to have handcuffs on your carry-on.
Really? Okay.
Well, somebody came in prepared.
Yeah. I'm glad to hear that, though, because I've been, thinking about the next time I fly. I need to bring all of my pairs of handcuffs, or else
Totally. I'm just going to bring a bag full of handcuffs next time I fly.
I'm gonna actually wear handcuffs as an accessory. you go through TSA, make you put your hands above your head. You're like, I'm sorry, I'm cuffed to my belt.
I lost the key.
Yeah.
That's the key.
The key's in my checked luggage. I'm sorry.
You know, I could go down a whole TSA rabbit hole, but Deric, I'm glad you're able to share this story with us, man. That's something.
Yeah.
Did they at least
Yeah,
give you
that's
guys
crazy.
like, you know, extra peanuts, perhaps
Yeah,
maybe more cookies?
Did you get a nice hotel room?
Well, so like as soon as we heard that we were going to be landing, my wife jumped on and reserved us a room at like a local hotel.
Yeah.
Nice.
It was as soon as we landed, and we're sitting there for a few minutes, and I heard them open the bottom of the plane and starting to like pull luggage out.
Oh,
And I leaned forward to my wife and I was like, we're getting off this plane. They're either moving us to a different plane or we're not flying out tonight. And then we got a message a minute later and it was like, your flight has been delayed until 10 p.m. the next morning or something like that. And so she immediately got on, booked us a hotel, and we were ready to go. As soon as she booked that hotel, I started looking, because I was looking at them too. And then she leaned back to me and told me she had booked a hotel. And I was like, okay, cool. And then my screen refreshed. All the prices on the local hotels jumped by like 2 to 3 times as much as they normally were. Because everybody was jumping on and looking at the same time. And the airline was trying to book up a room or a hotel for everybody to stay in. They came over the intercom and they were like, we weren't able to secure a hotel, but we encourage you to get one. We're going to have to delay and all this other stuff. And they offered a reimbursement for hotel, food, and transportation to and from the hotel for the
All
day
right,
or
that's
the
not
night
bad.
or whatever.
That's
So
not
yeah,
bad.
we just got to kind of jump through some hoops to get it all reimbursed, but it'll get reimbursed. It's just a waste of time.
I'm batting like over 10 on getting any sort of love for delayed flights. Like I've had flights delayed 5 hours and got nothing out of it. I think one time I got like a $10 meal voucher for the airport.
I feel like I always see those things on Instagram. They're like, hey, here's like a hack or what you're supposed to do and the legal terms of all your flight and stuff. I'm like, yeah, okay, like I hear you saying that, but I don't think that actually works.
That's the thing, like, yeah, they're just like, okay, by law, they are required to give you X, Y, and Z. But if they make you sit on the phone for 10 hours in order to get it and then follow up with them repeatedly and, threaten to sue them, like, all these airlines do is just delay, and then hopefully, eventually, you give up.
Right.
Yeah. You have to be tenacious.
You have to be very tenacious, which I'm not. I don't have time for that stuff.
It's like contacting Facebook.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
And that's where I tag in my wife and she takes care of it. She's really good at that.
Pipe dream.
Nice. Well, it's good to have somebody like that in a relationship.
Well, Deric, we're glad that you're back, man. We're glad.
Yeah,
that
me
you're
too.
back.
Definitely.
Thanks for joining us.
On solid ground. I'm happy.
Yeah. So, Zach, what have you been up to, man?
Oh, just a little bit of the usual stuff. I was editing. I was doing voiceovers today for my next video.
I'm so sorry.
You know what? It wasn't too bad because I've been doing, again, we talked about this like last week or the week before, but I've been doing that thing where I work a little bit, I film a little bit, I dump it all on the computer, I organize it, and then I record my VOs. So this project is kind of feeling like it's taking a long time, but I know when I go to do the final edit, it's going to be so easy because everything's already going to be there. I have like all my clips lined up. It's all color coded. I got all the voiceover there. I'm chopping out the junk footage and stuff like that. Right. So that part I'm looking forward to. But yeah, it was a little bit of a boring day. And I worked on my motorcycle at the end of the day, so that was fun.
What video are you doing the voiceover on?
The Raspberry Pi one that I was talking about last week. Yeah, the water-cooled Raspberry Pi. So I did a little bit of 3D modeling today, too. Got some design stuff going.
That's fun.
Yeah. What about you?
Excited you excited about the video? You have a good feeling about her?
Honestly, no. Not that I have a bad feeling about it, but I'm a little, I'm not sure how it's going to go. I don't know if it's going to be an absolute banger of video. I think it's going to do well. I mean, I have a video that's a very similar premise that has 1 million views, so it shouldn't be like that pessimistic about it, but yeah, I don't know. For some reason, I think maybe it's because I'm doing this as like a filler video because I'd really rather be doing the Xbox video that I was talking about before. So maybe that's why my own emotions are kind of.
It's almost like your
bit.
attention is split between multiple projects, so you're not like 100%. You're not all in on this one right now because you're still thinking about the Xbox, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
I totally get that.
Yeah.
So you're pretty much an admin kind of last few days, just doing all behind the scenes stuff, not really hitting a lot of the creativity.
Exactly, and I was also recording the Instagram ad that I agreed to do as well. I got to actually, you know what? I should talk about that because it's kind of cool.
Yeah, let's hear about it.
I got this. I don't know if I got this 12-inch benchtop joiner. Ooh. The thing is massive.
Is it the same one?
12 inches benchtop.
Is yours by Cut Tech?
I think it's probably the exact same thing. It's the Wahuna?
No. So mine's by a company called Cut Tech, which I think is new. But you know what? It's the same. It is the same jointer as the one you would get from like Grizzly or.
So it's the exact same thing.
Probably is. Yeah. So it's sold under a bunch of different brand names. I got
it's the exact same thing. I have it.
Yeah, just different, like slightly different paint job, right?
Yeah.
But it's sweet, man. I was using it the other day, and it's like I was like, oh, I don't know, pleasantly surprised. Obviously, you can't cut anything super long because it's just a benchtop joiner, but it's pretty nice to be able to cut stuff up to 12 inches wide.
So, did you have to do a whole calibration on this, or you just rip it out of the box and just go?
Boom, out of the box, it was pretty dialed in.
Enough where you're like, yeah, this is fine.
Yes, exactly.
Have you like edge jointed boards together and like they meet up really well?
That I haven't done yet. I've just done a bunch of face jointing with it. I haven't tried the edge jointing on it yet. That is where the smaller ones tend to fall apart a little bit. So I'll let you know after I've actually used it for that.
So, dude, I went and like
you find those little extension arms to be.
No, dude, extension arms suck. It basically it's just like a little hand. So
I would say you can cut up to 48 inches is probably the max you would want. Maybe you could push it to 60, but I think that would be kind of the max you'd want to do on it.
Yeah. So you gotta be careful with that. I spent like 3 days, like 3 full days trying to go through that and like really, really get set up and dialed in.
Yeah.
You can do it. But as soon as you pick that thing up and move it,
interesting.
You're throwing it out.
So I'm optimistic about this 12-inch one because the 12-inch one has a beefier fence than the 8-inch one that I had before.
Yeah.
So that gives me, it has additional braces. So the 8-inch one was just mounted in the center.
Yes.
The 12-inch one has 3 mounting points.
Yeah.
So I'm optimistic that it'll be a little bit better for edge jointing.
Yeah. I think you can make it work. And at the end of the day, I talked about this in my most recent video when I kind of mentioned that joiner and stuff. Like, you get what you pay for, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a $600-700 jointer when any other entry-level jointer, a 6-inch jointer, is going to be at least $1,000, if not $1,500. This is a 12-inch.
Yeah.
And it's a bench top, and it's like $700.
Yeah.
You can't really expect that much from it, right?
No, exactly. And I already, I had the 8-inch one before, so I kind of knew what I was getting myself into. Yeah. It's good for small stuff. I wouldn't use it, for dining table or something like that. I might be a little bit concerned about using it, but for coffee tables and making like little game consoles the way I do, it's great.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's perfect hobby craft size. Like you're like you said, you're not really going to be building much furniture with that.
And I don't have the room for a big jointer. I'm sure I could figure it out, but I don't really want a big jointer in my shop right now.
Right on.
Yeah.
So was this a thing through Influent, or they reach out to you?
Yeah. No, I got it through Influent, which was surprising because usually they don't bother with Instagram campaigns. But hey,
right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, that's sweet. Did you post it yet, or did I see someone else post something on
I think you probably saw somebody else post it, because I've noticed quite a few people
Okay.
have done it.
Must be a campaign that they're running. It's interesting how a lot of these companies will basically buy a tool, and we've slightly talked about this, a process called white labeling, where they basically just take a pre-existing product and just slap their label on it and go through all these marketing efforts. Like, it's interesting.
Yeah, I'm just actually looking at the company's website right now. I think I'm trying to figure out when because I had never heard of them before. Yeah, I think it must be a relatively new company. So they're trying to like spin up a tool company, I guess.
They basically have a planer, a jointer, and the planer is the same, like, grizzly planer thing. Yeah. Okay,
Yes.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, it's Shopify website, so it's just totally e-commerce.
Although I am noticing, that my old jointer that was similar to their 8-inch model actually had this one had a cast iron top, whereas the one I had before had like a kind of like a composite material. It was kind of like a plasticky top. What's yours have? Is yours cast iron?
It's cast iron, yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Interesting.
You know, looking at this company, it looks like they started by making spiral cutter heads in 2008.
Oh, is that what it is?
And then
By the way,
they
should
launched
say
into
this is not
joiners in
sponsored.
2017. Yeah.
And they have a bunch of, like, cutter head inserts and stuff, like little...
Yeah. Looks like that was their focus for a while.
Interesting.
expanding now.
Interesting. Cool.
Very interesting. So you're working on a Instagram promo for that.
Yes.
Right on.
Just got that all approved yesterday. So yeah, I don't know. What's your feeling being like? Somebody was talking to me recently, and they're like, "How's your summer going? Are you busy with work?" And I was like, "No, not really."
Yeah.
And we've talked about it before. There's kind of like a seasonality to this stuff. Like even views are lower. What have you been finding? You've been being approached for a lot of campaigns?
No.
Or is it kind of quiet on your? Yeah.
Pretty
so
quiet.
I think it's just kind of the summer, but it's nice. It's honestly, I'm part of me is like, oh crap, you got to make as much money as possible. You always got to be busy. You got to be working all the time. Part of me is like, God, maybe I should just enjoy my summer and save up my creative juices for the fall and the winter when you really make money.
That's kind of how I felt. Like when I was going through that rut like a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, oh man, I don't know. I logged onto QuickBooks just out of curiosity, and it has a little thing that says like how you're doing compared to last year.
Yeah.
And it said that I was like slightly above where I was last year. So I was like,
right.
Okay, well I'm doing fine. Like,
Yeah.
what's to panic? Like if I'm on par with what I did last year, I'm thrilled, man.
Totally.
Like,
It's tough when you're self-employed though, because you're always like,
I could do more.
you could do more, but you're also thinking like, I don't know. You always want to be busy, and if you're not busy, there's this sense of urgency. Like, what's going on? Like, where's all the work? What? Like, have things dried up? Is this the end?
Or like sometimes I'll start like judging myself when in the sense of like I'm mailing it in like ooh, that was crisp.
Yeah, fresh peach bubbly.
Ooh, get out of here with that peach.
I'll
be like, I'm not doing enough. Like I'm failing myself.
Yeah.
And I should be just pounding it all day, every day.
Yeah.
But like, it's been kind of nice the past few weeks. Like during the work day, I'll finish stuff up, and I'm like, no, man, I'm gonna go to the park and go on a walk and listen to a book at 2:00 in the afternoon. Like, what a luxury to have.
I know, but so I struggle with that so much because I'm like, am I getting lazy? Am I like?
I know.
Right? Like today at like 4:00, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go work on the motorcycle for a little bit, just out in the driveway in the sun. I know, right? Like that's yes. I was like, and honestly, I had done everything I possibly could up until that point. Like I was like, my project's on schedule. I did all this voiceover. The next thing I need to do is these 2 3D prints that are going to take like 9 hours.
Yeah.
So I'll just run those overnight. I was like, I don't really have anything else to do today. But I still felt guilty about taking a couple hours to work on my bike.
I know. So here's one way that I get around that. I write absolutely everything on a list. So it could be something as simple as like start laundry, get laundry out,
Yep.
start dishwasher, like
Yep.
all this kind of stuff. And then I'll go through the list and be like, check, 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 check. And I'm like, oh man, I did 15 things today.
Oh, totally.
But
Yeah,
I
yeah,
had a relaxing day.
yeah.
Sometimes that helps
It's-
me.
Dude, one of the most satisfying things in the world is starting your day with a to-do list and then just crossing all the things off. But the problem is, I crossed the last one off. I'm like, I could add like 5 more things right now.
I know.
Yeah.
But
So that part's tricky. But yeah, I don't know. It's
my summer.
So you don't use the summer to catch up on background stuff?
what do you mean background stuff?
Admin stuff, things like the tedious stuff, so you get kind of ahead before the winter comes.
I don't know what I would get ahead on for when the winter comes.
I start planning out video ideas. Like I already wrote a script for the video that I want to put out around the, like Black Friday time. The like
Yeah.
10 tools you regret not buying earlier, or whatever the hell it was.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
That's
yeah.
done. So like literally all I had to do was film it.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to film it. Yeah, but it still gives me that kind of head start for when that
Totally.
happens. And I'm trying to
Totally.
like brainstorm and script some other video ideas during this time. But yeah, today I got pulled in these like different directions. I told you like I'm trying to start designing projects that I know I want to build, even though I don't want to build them yet. It'll be one of those I want to
Sure.
build
yeah.
it once we move and whatnot. And I keep getting pulled where like I start designing this project, then I go over to this one, and then I go over to this one, and then I'm like, oh, but I want to start carving that table that I have in the garage, and then I'm like, oh, but then I need to film this ad for my next YouTube integration, and I'm like, Jesus, Eric, just focus on one thing.
One thing. Yeah.
It's killing me.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know, because so one thing I was thinking about recently is I was wondering, should I start doing 2 videos at a time at all times? Because when I hit this roadblock with the Xbox thing, I was like, okay, well, crap. I essentially lost a couple days because I was like, okay, well, I need to order this part. There's nothing I can really do in the meantime. And like I did some of that, like I organized the footage. I started recording voiceovers and stuff like that. But then after that, I just kind of hit this dead spot. So that's why I started the second one. But I was like, well, if I was always working on 2 projects, I'd basically always be able to push ahead on at least one of them.
Yeah. Would you find it challenging to keep all of your thoughts and ideas
Well, yeah,
organized?
Yeah. I mean, I wonder. I think now I've got it down to a formula where it wouldn't be that much of a challenge, and maybe taking time to work on so say you had an A project and a B project. You hit a roadblock with the A project, you go and work on the B one for a little bit, and maybe just like while you're distracted with a B project, the solution to the A one comes to you, or you have a little bit of distance.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, well, here's a different way I could approach editing that, or something like that. Like, it just gives you a little bit of distance from the project, and
could see that.
kind of takes a little bit of the pressure off.
I'm kind of doing that now, and I'm finding it really hard for myself to focus.
Focus, yeah.
Now, I know it's going to happen. Like once I finish carving this coffee table and I start coating it with epoxy, I know that I'm going to have to put epoxy on it, leave it out in the garage for a week,
Yeah.
and work on other stuff. So that's going to like force me to focus on internal computer stuff while that's happening. But like right now, when I have all of these different things as an option, I can easily work on any of them right now. That's where I get in trouble, because then I don't do anything.
Yeah. It is true, yeah. I don't know. Have you ever tried to use any like project management software or anything like that?
Like a Airtable or like a something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, I've considered it, and I find it more of a nuisance.
That's kind of how I feel too. I remember the first time I went to Workbench Con, I saw Brad Rodriguez give a talk about how So he gave this whole talk about this project management software he used. So I came back and I tried to use it for like a couple months. I was like, I don't really feel like I'm getting anything out of this. Like, I don't feel like it's making me more, I don't know, more efficient or anything. It's just like adding like a layer of busy work to the work I'm trying to do.
Yeah. I mean, like in my day job, we use Salesforce, which is a term people probably heard of before. And the stuff that I'm required to log in on Salesforce, it does absolutely nothing but slow me down.
Right.
It adds no benefit to me, but helps other people with reporting.
Right. Gotcha.
And I'm like, this is an infuriating platform to use.
Yeah, I think maybe if I had a bigger team or something like that, maybe there would be some benefit to keeping like everybody organized. But being just me and like Bryson, it's like I don't know if I need to, if there's a critical deadline I need to hit or some piece of information that he needs to have, I give it to him and vice versa. And yeah, I mean
that's kind of like we kind of almost have a semi assistant in terms of our influence, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Like I could today, I just reached out to him. It's like, hey, I'm doing this brand deal. You guys didn't give me this, and this. I'm just going to use Spencely as my code that I'm supposed to give.
Right.
Will you tell the brand and take care of it?
Yeah.
So that I can proceed, and somebody else just takes care of that like small little busy work thing, or like, hey, yeah, I'm fine doing that deal, but you need to send me like an overview sheet because I got the contract, but I don't have an overview sheet. So like, send that to me so I can get moving on this. And then boom, it's off my plate. Someone else can handle it. But most of the stuff I just keep track of, like if there's some sort of brand inquiry that I'm actively pursuing or actively working on, I just keep it in my inbox. And I delete everything out of my inbox that's not basically an action item for me. So I'm an inbox zero kind of guy.
Yeah, your inbox zero drives me nuts. Every time I log into the off the cut email, I'm like, where's all the emails?
That's because there's nothing
in the trash.
Yeah, all in the trash.
I operate on inbox zero, and then I have a reminder list called people who need to pay me. So anytime I like have some sort of brand deal or I agree to something or whatnot, I instantly put it on the people who need to pay me thing. Okay. And then when a payment comes in, I check it off. Because there'll be some where I'm like, oh, this person hasn't paid me in 6 months.
Yeah.
And then you constantly hound them. And then they finally pay you.
Yes. We talked about this before, but that's one of the things that I know I'm very bad about. Is hounding people for payments. Like you told me you set up a weekly reminder or whatever.
Yeah.
To just, because a lot of these brands will just try to not pay you or to push payment as far out as they possibly can.
Yeah, it's a scam. But I mean, how many people do you think they've gotten away with just, they never hit me up?
True. Yeah, must happen quite a bit, I would imagine. It is also kind of nice too, where obviously depends on your financial situation, but if you do a job like 3 or 4 months ago and then you get paid for it, you're like, ooh, bonus money. I forgot I even
what's the term that's been going around on social media recently?
I don't know.
Oh, girl math is what they called it.
Oh, girl math. Right. Yeah, true.
I fall into a lot of what they call girl math, though.
Oh, totally. 100%.
So the concept is something along the lines of like, if you spend $100 on clothing and then you go return all of the clothing, you now just made $100.
Yeah.
I think we refer to that as tool math.
Tool math.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
I do it all the time with the tools. That's where I'm the worst.
Or if you start going through your old tools and doing my eBay thing where you just list it as a penny because you're like, I don't want this. It's just taking up space.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh man, just turned in several tools at a penny, all turned into something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did it with my motorcycle recently. I needed to get the tires on it fixed. And I was like, well, if I buy a motorcycle lift, then I'll be able to raise the bike up. I'll be able to take the tires off myself, take them to a tire shop, and I will save money at the tire shop because I'll just, So it's like, so basically this tool that I'm buying is free because I'm going to save that on the other side at the shop.
But how much does the lift cost versus how much additional you would have to pay at the shop?
Well, I don't know. The lift was about.
Let's not get into
let's not get too
ridiculous
crazy.
details.
It was a free tool, Eric, and I don't want to go down that road.
I mean, this whole girl math, tool math concept basically is the overarching theme of becoming a woodworker, maker.
True.
Sure, I could go buy that table for like $300.
Or I could buy $1,000 worth of tools, $500 worth of lumber, and make myself a table.
Right. I'm saving money.
Yeah.
Just
That's right.
Details, right?
Details.
It's we could be politicians with all of this
100% we could.
creative, mind work,
But then we'd have to run against J-Cats, and I think we both know we'd lose to J-Cats.
yeah. Make America sharp again, or what it is. The sharpest
How did we
tool
get
on the
A
planet.
tool in every worker's hand.
Yeah. How did we get on the subject of girl math and tool math?
No idea. I know.
Yeah, I can't remember how we got there.
So
All right,
I'm gonna do on my
What's
next, as I'm starting to power carve this table,
Buy some
I've
more tools.
realized that it's a huge pain in the ass to constantly move my camera to get a bunch of interesting angles and shots and
Sure.
right.
Classic
I was digging
dilemma.
through my drawer to get my camera out, and then I remembered that I've got this little guy, it's the DJI Action 4. So for everybody who doesn't know what this is, GoPro. I basically
That's the latest one, isn't it?
I think so.
Okay.
And I got to thinking, why don't I set up with my regular camera, get some shots, and then also set up with this? So I'm basically getting twice the
angles.
amount of shots, so I can do some quick, like choppy, cuts to make that process more interesting, more intriguing. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to start filming with this tomorrow and see how I like using a multi-camera setup.
Nice. So I've done it before. I've done it quite a bit. I actually have two of my main camera. Like I have two full-size cameras, and sometimes I'll do the A camera, B camera. I haven't done it that much because it is actually quite labor intensive to do that. The other way to do it is, I assume what you're already doing is where you like do one cut from one angle, then you line up to do a second cut, you change the camera position, do it again, and then you cut them together and make it kind of look like it's just 50% of one, 50% of the other. So you will end up with a lot more footage, but it does kind of get around, like sometimes you have continuity errors doing it the other way. You're like, you switch the piece of wood you're holding or something like that. So it gets around that. And you can like jump back and forth between the two, which is fun depending on what you're doing as well. So yeah. The other challenge you might run into though is trying to make the two video streams look the same.
That's one of my concerns, which is why I'm going to test it strictly on the power carving portion.
Okay.
And see how it turns out. Because like if the white balance is off on them, one of your shots might be a little bluer, one might be a little browner, a little more
Very
yellow.
common
problem. I don't know. We'll see.
Brown
We'll see
is
how
always
it
brown.
looks.
Yeah.
And
the nice thing about one of those though is that it's so small, you can get it into some really cool places.
Right.
So you could like duct tape it to the top of your power carver and like get it like right in there as you're carving, and
I might have to get one of those little like octopus tripod things. Wrap it around, because I was 3D printing because I really just wanted to attach this to like I have multiple tripods, right? So I was going to just try to attach it to another tripod, and then I realized that I didn't have one of those is it a 1/4 inch or 3/8 inch?
quarter 20.
Yeah, 1/4 20.
Yeah.
adapters to basically spin it onto a tripod head.
Yeah.
But then I was like, I got the 3D printer. I can
Make your own.
print one. I was like, man, this thing's the bomb to have.
Having a 3D printer is great.
I don't utilize it enough.
Yeah. All the time, here's an example. I was in the bathroom the other day. We have an electric toothbrush, and there's an electric toothbrush charger. And I have this like cord that goes from the plug down, and then it comes up, and it goes over onto the sink. And I was like, I should make just a little holder that combines the power plug and the charger for my toothbrush. So that basically you're just plugging the toothbrush charging hub into the wall, and then you put the toothbrush on top of that. I was like, it'd free up counter space, it would look a lot cleaner, but getting around to actually modeling it is the tricky part.
Yeah. Do you ever get to the point where you want something and you go online, try to find an STL file, you're like, that looks like hell.
Yeah.
But it's good enough because I'm not going to go through the hassle of modeling something.
100%. All the time. All the time.
I printed off like 5 different versions of a little mount for this camera today. Mm-hmm. And all of them, I was like, no, that's not going to work. Oh, that one doesn't have threads in it. Oh, that one is like, yeah, I was like, whatever. At the time I spent printing these things off, I should have just modeled it myself and moved on with my life.
It's funny because every time I model something, I'm like, oh, that took way less time than I ever thought it would.
I know.
I'm always like, oh, I don't want to do it. It's going to be like an hour's worth of work. And then you sit down and you do it. It's like 10 minutes. You're like, oh, that wasn't so bad.
Right.
And now I have exactly what I want.
And then every time you work on it, you inherently get better and faster at Fusion, which
For
then
sure,
makes it even faster from the get-go.
Yeah. You'd be proud of me with this Raspberry Pi project. I've modeled everything and I've done it all the right way. I haven't taken any like weird shortcuts or anything like that. All my sketches are labeled and all the bodies are organized.
Dude, well, first of all, I am proud of you. I watched your... It's funny you bring that up because I watched your video on the Game Boy today during lunch.
Yeah.
And there was a couple shots where you had your
where you could
Fusion
see
model.
this.
I was like, Jesus Christ.
Oh, God. Yeah.
I was about to drive up to Toronto and kick you right in the face. I was like, you had
But you know what?
90 sketches on that one.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, well, you know what? Like, I think on the one I'm working on right now, I think I probably have about 50 sketches.
Oh, God.
But that's just like, sometimes you need a lot of sketches, especially when you're like changing surfaces. But I am getting better about trying to consolidate my sketches, like just use like one sketch for as much as I humanly can.
Yeah. I feel you.
But that Game Boy project taught me, because I needed to go back and change a few things, but I wasn't updating my sketches. I was just, using like the extrude tool or like using the fillet tool quite liberally, and I needed to go back and change things, and I was like, oh, this is a real pain in the ass to go back and change things.
Yeah.
If I had done it all properly and just kept my sketches from the very beginning, kept them nice and organized, I could just edit the sketches and then that would edit the model. So doing that taught me, I was like, okay, there is actually value in like taking your time and being organized. And
Yeah. You know what does suck about Fusion though?
What?
Is when you get hit with that annual bill.
Oh, $700.
Yeah, I got hit with it the other day.
Yeah.
I was like, this is expensive.
How much do I really use this?
I know.
know.
That's exactly what I said. I was like, oh my gosh.
Man, I really wish they had some sort of tiered pricing, because like they're charging us the same thing that they would charge an engineering company that's making like actual products.
I know. And then if you get like the creator one, it's like not even that great.
What happened?
Oh, they have a creator one?
Well, it's one where you can only save like 4 files or whatever.
Oh,
You
okay,
can't save a
yeah.
lot.
Yeah.
It was $527.28.
I've been looking, I keep looking around, like, is there a discount code or something like that I can get? And no. They have one price, and it's just that price always.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I would still take that all day every day over SketchUp.
100%.
As someone who I would say I was pretty damn proficient at SketchUp.
Yeah.
I am magnitudes faster in Fusion.
Yeah, I haven't used SketchUp in a long time now, so I don't even really remember what I hated so much about it. But I don't know. I feel like I just remember spending like an afternoon learning Fusion and being like, oh, I'm already better in Fusion than I am in SketchUp, and it's only taken me like 2 hours of consolidated learning.
I don't trust anyone who relies on SketchUp, like Scott Walsh.
Scott Walsh, 100%. He's got a program that he uses to, I can't remember exactly what it is, to like get curves, because you can't do curves. It's all straight lines in SketchUp, right?
Yeah.
So, Scott's still in the live chat. Scott, you were telling me he has some like plugin to solve like the simplest thing.
Yeah.
That's asinine to have to use a plugin to put in a freaking curve. If you say you put like you're trying to join a case together with mitered edges, then you go, oh, I actually want that to be 2 inches longer. You have to redo like everything. You can't just like, you just can't like make it longer. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
Which is infuriating.
Yeah.
You know? That alone is what enough to make me change, but you know.
I like Fusion, I should say.
Scott said he spent over $100 in SketchUp extensions. Scott, just imagine, or $500. Just imagine if you just paid for Fusion.
Yeah, honestly, I don't know, Scott. What's your deal? Why won't you? You gotta get on the Fusion train. It's just so much better.
Okay,
you'll love your life way more.
Scott, what you're gonna do?
It's more woodworker math.
Oh, woodworker math. That's fine. That's fair. What you're going to do, Scott, is what we tell everybody. Go on YouTube, if you've heard of YouTube. You should start a channel if you don't already have one. Or at least upload videos. And go... I'm just messing, man. Go on YouTube and look up that Product Design Online Learn Fusion in 30 Days course.
All you need.
It is way more than you'll ever need. Done. Free. And
you will do 5 of his courses, and which are like 15 minutes long each, and you'll be like, I already know how to do way more in Fusion than is even possible to do in SketchUp.
Right.
Yeah.
Something as simple as like, I want to have a round body and then extrude something through the round body. Good luck doing that in SketchUp.
Yeah.
Your computer's going to explode.
Yeah.
Especially if you're using SketchUp Online. Dear God help you.
Oh, is that still a thing? Can you still do SketchUp Online?
Oh, dude, it is brutal to use.
I'm going to pull it up right now and... let me start modeling. I'm going to pull it up right now and give myself... I'm going to give myself a taste of how horrible SketchUp was.
It's awful. It doesn't have half of the tools, half of the visual settings, and once you start getting like more than like 5 or 6 components, it just like freezes on you.
God, they're making me sign away my life in order to get on there. So what happened with SketchUp? SketchUp was originally a Google product, and then they
sold it.
They sold it. That's like the opposite of a
I think they bought it from somebody else.
Interesting.
Who'd they buy it? Because I remember I learned how to use it.
And they sold it.
I did.
Yeah.
When I took woodshop in high school, we modeled like a box or something like that in there. I have no idea why. But this was also coming from a woodshop teacher who told us the way you mill wood is you just continually run it through the planer until it's flat.
Hell yeah.
There was no jointer in this wood shop. You're not supposed to use a jointer. Jointers are dangerous. But we did have a radial arm saw, which was
nice.
sick. And I remember he would set up
Old
the
school.
radial arm saw. And, it's super old school. He'd set up the radial arm saw in the way that the blade is pointing outward and rip plywood like on the floor.
Perfect.
Have you seen that before, Zach?
I have never seen that before. No, that's crazy to
They
me.
literally put the blade sideways, pointing straight out, like it's about to just like cut your intestines. And you put
crazy.
You put a piece of plywood like on the floor vertically, and just like run it through.
Huh?
Yeah.
All right.
It was wild. It was wild.
I got my other browser window open right now.
Almost as good as Home
SketchUp.
Depot's method.
And this is horrible.
Do you think Home
Scott, how do
Depot's
you-
ever changed the blade on their stall?
No.
No, definitely not. They have all the blades right there. Scott, how do you do this? This program is such garbage. You can't
He's
even
all
like.
in on it.
I
I will
know.
be honest though. I used to be super proficient in SketchUp. So when I first got into Fusion, it was really frustrating. I know a lot of people also swear by it, like Shaper 3D or something, Shape 3D, something like that.
Shape 3D.
It's
Oh, is
the
that
one
the,
that
is
works
that
on the iPad?
right? Yeah.
I actually did a promo for them at one point. It was pretty
Oh,
good. I just
okay.
I didn't stick with it.
Yeah. I
That
mean,
was a long
look,
time ago.
there is, to defend Scott here for a second. Once you've learned one piece of software, it is very hard to make a switch to something else.
It's like,
So,
why learn Photoshop, Scott, when you're proficient at Microsoft Paint? It does the same thing. You know?
Yeah.
Well, you know what we got to do now?
Head over to the BYOC.
Yeah. We've got the big BYOC, so that's going to be the live chat that we're doing with all of our patrons this month. We typically reserve for our top tiers, but we're opening up to everybody this month. So if you want to join that, well, if you're listening to the podcast on Saturday or when it comes out, it's now too late. But if you're listening to the live show, head over to patreon.com/offthecutpodcast, and we've got the link listed there. And hop in on that Skype call. And for everybody else, we'll catch you next week. And we've got a special guest joining us next week that's going to tell us why we are wrong about Instagram.
That's right. We got a real Instagram influencer coming in to show us how it's done.
Yeah. I'm excited for this. I'm excited
Yes.
for somebody to tell me that I'm wrong about Instagram.
Yeah, me too.
Because I genuinely think it's a wasted platform. But hey, next week we're going to be wrong about it.
We'll find out.
We'll find out. All right, everybody. Thanks for your support. Remember to send the show to somebody, and don't listen to the Green Series podcast. Available on all
Okay.
streaming platforms.
See you, everybody.